First question will go to you, Mr. Bailey. How do you view the Office of the Student Body Vice President, and what do you plan to do during your year to advance the student body?
Thank you for that question. First off, I view the Office of the Student Body Vice President and President as one that can affect numerous students, which is part of why I took this position. Because you know, the Bible says, "To whom much is given, much is required." And I've served in the city over the years, and this past year I've had the opportunity to serve as Judicial and Rules Chair as well as Senate Pro Tempore for the 42nd Student Senate. And I think that there's some transferable skills that I can take over to the executive branch. And I think the executive branch, more importantly, the entire Student Government Association is what we need to be talking about. Because, you know, it isn't just the E branch at the end of the day. It's not just the L branch, it's not just the J branch. It's the entire Student Government Association working together to move the student body forward. Now, in regards to what I plan to do while in office, I've said it once and I'll say it again. There is no A&E without we. Okay, and I firmly believe that if we work together to get things done, that if students are included in the processes, then you know this will be a very successful year. A few of our key initiatives would hit on parking. We got to restructure our parking services at the university, because I don't know about you guys, but it takes too long to find a parking space, and I'm tired of being late to class. We have $1 million parking garage that isn't being used right now. The way that you attack this issue is, number one, you look at the lines themselves, the parking spaces. Are they sized correctly? And then number two, you know, you open up some of those administrative and faculty parking spaces that aren't being used, because we see them just sitting there, and they're not helping the faculty, and they're certainly not helping us. So that would definitely be one of the key issues. And in addition to that, the A&E administration is committed to eliminating the suppressive restriction on freshmen that has not allowed them to have the same freshman year that Anthony and I had. Okay, so those are going to be two of the key initiatives. And then a third one would be to increase the overall communication and transparency of the Student Government Association. We plan to do that through utilizing a text messaging alert system for different organizations around campus. And with that, that's what I plan to do. Those are a few of the many things that I plan to do while in office, Anthony and I, and we look forward to bringing value to the student body. Thank you for that question.
One of the things that our wants to work with is connecting SGA back into the entire student body. What we want to do is have in the E branch where the department heads will have a committee of other students to work with to initiate the different things that we want to do. We want to bring back this Be FAMU campaign, because wrapping around this down, we want people to talk about the being true spirit of a Rattler, as well as embodying what FAMU is, came to FAMU, and also connecting our alumni back to the student body as well. Also with homecoming, the homecoming experience, we want to brand our experience. We want it to hit 3 different topics. We wanted to show the achievement of Rattlers, achievement of alumni, as well as also showing our service to the community, the service that alumni has done as well. And thirdly, we want your experience to be amazing. We want to bring back the free homecoming concert, as well as also create a coalition of different clubs and organizations where we can sit down and figure out a schedule as far as events, because a lot of times you have clubs and organizations competing on campus for events, and most students, they will want to go to both. So what they're going to decide is, I'm not going to go to either or, because both of these events are going on at the same time. We want our clubs and organizations to be able to be open to freshmen, but we also want freshmen to have everything that they need so that they can be prepared to be effective individuals in these clubs and organizations as well. It's all about progression at the end of the day.
What Ms. Churchill neglected to mention was the the fact that, according to new legislation, next year's student body vice president is actually going to serve as co-chair, the first ever co-chair of the homecoming committee. So I'm committed to ensuring that this is a student first homecoming, that, ensuring that these are the artists that we want, and ensuring that this is a diverse homecoming, because we have many different types of people at FAMU, so we need to do our best to appeal to all demographics. And she also talked a little bit about connecting SGA with the entire student body.
This is what I like.
That kind of alludes to one of our platform points. First off, it goes back to the red text messaging alert system that I just mentioned. And second off, it touches on our Student Leadership Council. And what the Student Leadership Council is, for those of you who don't know, and in other SGAs, most of their senates are based off of people that are representations of their respective colleges and schools, not based upon your classification. So what we want to do with this Student Leadership Council is open up SGA to more people, to give more people access, and to make SGA more of a student experience. That way you have someone within your own respective college or school to talk to about your issues. This is the same person that's sitting in class next to you. And with that being said, ultimately, the A&E administration is committed to bringing value to the student body through a we effort. Thank you.
I'm actually happy that Senator Bailey actually brought that up, because we also have something as far as committees that we want students to sit on for their respective colleges and schools, working with the curriculum committee. What's happening right now is a lot of different schools are reviewing the curriculum for each program. And what's happening is certain students want to see certain programs, but they're not going to offer certain courses if they don't see feedback from the students. So we want to have student committees not only through SGA as far as our departments, but also working as far as academics as well. Also, with homecoming, I'm happy you mentioned homecoming. I actually sat on the homecoming committee this year and helped coordinate and plan 3 different events for homecoming. Also conceived the idea of us bringing the Decision 2013 watch party to the Hill for voting. So I'm happy that you have brought up homecoming with that experience this year. And what I've learned from being on that homecoming committee is that we need to have it more transparent to the students as far as having it broadcasted to the entire student body. And then next, when the homecoming committee meets and decides the different events that we're going to have the student body vote for those events, so that way they feel like it's my homecoming. And then as far as getting alumni to want to come back, create a package deal so that they can come and they can have fun and they can attend all the different events that will be happening.
Thank you. Since we're talking homecoming, you already mentioned it, Mr. Churchill. How will you use your position as a student body vice president to include more students and satisfy students and alumni at the same time?
Okay, thank you, Natalie. I think I really just touched on that, but to elaborate on that, if we are elected, starting in March, we will be trying to have applications go out. What we want to do as far as communication, Mr. Bailey talked about communication. We want to streamline our internet access and also streamline using our YouTube channels, and as well as even having set days, having it open and going to students and even polling them and telling them like, hey, just how we go hard as far as campaigns, that's how hard we need to go as far as service to our student body. Doing that so that they know, hey, we're here for you and we want you to be involved in this process.
Same question, Mr. Bailey.
Before I respond to that, first she talked about how she served on the past homecoming committee. Well, I mean, as someone who has been here, Ms. Churchill's been here over the years, she knows that this past year's homecoming wasn't up to par and wasn't what it could have been. So she's like that. Second of all, she talked about having people actually vote on the events, but you don't have to have people vote on the events if you're actually in touch with the students to begin with. In regards to reaching, making sure that homecoming is balanced, politics itself is the art of compromise. You have to find the middle ground. The A&E administration is committed to finding the middle ground. You have to have, a certain amount of, events that appeal to both the alumni and both the students, and I don't think that's going to be a problem at all with this administration and this ticket. Thank you.
My response to that is, in fact, you're right. It was subpar. And in fact, I even reached out to certain students, even asking, you know, what would you have wanted to see? What different could we have done? And even sitting on that committee, I used to go to those meetings and think to myself, more and more students need to know about this. So I even made it a mission as far as telling students when the homecoming committee meetings were. What happened this year that needs to happen is, first of all, it needs to be publicized and it needs to be in a position that is open to students. So the first place it needs to happen is in SGA or on the set, not in a conference room in Al Lawson, not in a multi-purpose room, and it's changed the day of. We need to have it open, and we need to connect to those students and let them know where it's at. And that was one of the main issues as far as the homecoming committee meetings for this year. So recognizing that and being on that, I have the experience and I have the knowledge with that to move forward to change that. Progression, baby, progression.
Alright, the next question is, if elected vice president, you will be the student body's voice in the faculty senate as a voting faculty senator. How will you use your position to advocate for the students' needs among faculty while ensuring the faculty's needs are met as well? Mr. Bailey?
Thank you for that question. As a member of the Student Government Association's 42nd and 41st Student Senate, I think that right there puts me in an excellent position to serve on the University Faculty Senate, because Senates, what do? They legislate, and that's what I've been doing, so I have that meaningful experience. Secondly, I think you're talking about the relationships and how we can meet the needs of the faculty and students. Well, the students are the stakeholders of this university. So that is our first concern. The A&E administration is first and foremost concerned with the needs of the students. So that's going to be at the forefront of whatever we do. And in regards to administration, I think administration and the students have to be on the same page in progressing the student body forward. And what we have to realize is that progress isn't always necessarily in the same direction. The difference between progress and rebirth is that rebirth takes us in a new direction. Progress takes us in the same direction that we've been going in the whole time.
Come on, man.
I'm familiar with I've spoken to Narian Prasad, who happens to be the chair.
Okay, same question to you, Ms. Churchill. If elected vice president, you'll be the student body's voice in the faculty senate. How will you use your position to advocate for students' needs among faculty while ensuring that faculty's needs are met as well?
One of the ways that I will be doing that is for some of the different committees and student committees, relating that information to basically the four main committees of the Faculty Student Senate, the steering committee, the committee on committees, but the main two ones are the curriculum committee and the library committee. With the curriculum committee, like I explained before, developing that committee with each college where students are able to address their concerns as far as the programs that they want to see happen. Also, I would say that one of the main issues right now is that if you go on the FAMU website, you won't be able to see any minutes from the Faculty Senate meeting since 2009, which is the first issue. So students aren't knowing what the Faculty Senate is actually meeting on. And we all know that every student is not going to go above and beyond as far as trying to find that information. We need to have that information readily available to them. So those will be the first two main things that I will be advocating for while sitting on the Faculty Senate. Also, Mr. Bailey said something as far as progress, but progress is not stagnant. Progress is something as far as moving forward. If we're talking about a rebirth would mean us objecting progress. It means creating something totally new. We don't necessarily need to create something new for something that's already great. What we need to do is changes to make it better. Excellence with caring.
Alrighty. Our next
Yeah, absolutely. 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 You know, this is a debate. A debate, you know, there's a dialogue from one candidate to the other. So, first and foremost, let's address what rebirth is. Means to return to something, right? So we need to return to the times when homecoming was enjoyable to students. We need to return, you know, to FAMU at its pinnacle. So that's the re part. Birth means a new direction. That's that new direction that I was talking about. That's the difference between rebirth and progress. In addition to that, she talked about the library committees, or this curriculum committee and the library committee. We didn't really talk much about the library committee. I think that this is an extremely important committee within the Faculty Senate, and it really touches on one of our platform points that's at the forefront of our campaign, which is strengthening and ensuring that we have a 24-hour library, because you pay enough money to go to this university to have one. And on that subject, you know, when it comes down to it, this is going to add to our academic progression. That's what a university is for. And a 24-hour library, you know, which strengthens academics, should be a right and not a privilege. Thank you.
And how would you ensure that we have a 24-hour library?
Well, I think that, number one, what we often forget is that the student body president and vice president are lobbyers to our own student senate. They should be lobbyers on behalf of the student body to the student senate for particular issues. As an example, on a federal level, you know, Obama in regards to healthcare. It's very simple. We have to have a student body president and vice president that are actually going to come to the Senate meetings and give, you know, give reports of what's going on and what they're looking to see. So that's going to be important. We're going to come to each meeting. We're committed to doing that each and every Monday. Anthony and I have been doing it for this entire past year. He's been doing it for 4 years. I've been doing it for 2. So it's not going to be anything new to us. You know, you come to the meetings and you address these types of concerns. And in addition to that, we think that the university, if capable, should actually take this on, because this is something that's important enough to the student body in regards to our retention rates as such to actually move us forward in the right direction. The university shouldn't leave this up to the students. This is something that the university should take on and put on their shoulders. Thank you.
I'm happy that you talked about as far as extending the library, making sure that it stays 24 hours. One of our platform points even includes not just extending the main library, Coleman Library, for keeping it 24 hours, but also J School Library and Architecture Library as well, because we have students in these libraries who there's certain information that's pertinent to their degree course that are in those libraries that you're not necessarily going to find in Coleman. And in architecture, you can find out that it closes at 5 and 9 p.m. and even in J School, like 6 o'clock. And that's hindering the productivity of our students. And honestly, to tell you the truth, you know, we're saying excellence, but caring, we need to be about that in all aspects. And I love the fact that you even brought up retention. Retention is important. Serving as a peer mentor, I've been working diligently as far as even helping to revamp our program. This year I will be the lead peer mentor for the peer mentor program. And that's also something that we'll be able to utilize as a lobbying tool to find out from our freshman students as far as their degree courses too, which libraries they would like to study at and what they need to see as far as their studying habits.
Okay. You mentioned the J School Library and Architecture Library. How would you keep that open longer?
How would we do that is, first of all, like he said, lobbying to our student senate, our senators, and I would have to commend Senator Bailey for being a great senator as far as noticing that that needs to continue to happen. So that would be the first step in doing that. And even if we had to find a way as far as making sure that that even gets put into the budget, that's a need of the students. And even like he said, lobbying. I'm not someone that's not new to that as far as starting petitions and getting students to sign that to show that this is something that the student body wants as well.
Okay. You both mentioned committees. This question goes to Ms. Churchill. What are the top 3 university committees that you feel are the most important to the student body?
I would say the first one, right now, would have to be the University Presidential Search Committee. That would have to be the most important one right now. And then the next would be the Curriculum Committee. Lastly, I would even say that as far as the student body is concerned, the hazing committee. And that's important because we come to college for a certain experience. And yes, we're students first, but the opportunity to join clubs and organizations helps push your experience that you have on this campus. And with some of the issues that we have had, we need to be able to know that the people who are sitting on these committees are doing the best as far as trying to implement policies and procedures that will benefit every student and address all of the ends to each issue.
Mr. Bailey?
I would have to say, I would have to agree with number one, the Presidential Search Committee. A university president is critical to this university in moving us forward. Number two would have to be our fee committee, the student fee committee. That's going to be huge because, you know, at the end of the day, that's our money that we're talking about. And, you know, when you pay money, you want to know where that money is going, how much it's being used, and what it's being used for. And then number three, I would have to say would be the Marching 100, the search for the Marching 100 band director. That should be it is extremely important. Sadly enough, the recommendations of this committee were just ignored by administration, to say the least. And Anthony and I stand as the backbone for the Marching 100. And we believe that when you put a process in place to select someone for a position, you should honor that process with integrity, and that's not what's happening. This administration is committed to holding our administration, our university administration, accountable for, you know, living up and standing up for their own policies and initiatives that they put in place, and not just disregarding them. Lawmakers shouldn't be lawbreakers.
I'm happy that Mr. Bailey talked about accountability. Our administration, the Harding Churchill administration, is very big on accountability. In fact, my running mate was one of the senators who called for an audit. And it was not a popular decision, but knowing where your money goes is important. And then also the same thing I do agree with is the fact that these people need to utilize those policies and procedures and adhere to that. And we're people who have been known for standing up for that. When we see something that's wrong, we're going to stand up for that. And that's something that we're going to continue to do with this administration.
Just real short, I mean, audits are good, but they're only good if they have a positive outcome or if they're for a purpose. Other than that, you're just searching and inquiring into issues that are probably going to have some sort of backlash. And what the A&E administration realized is that you have to have a strong relationship with the administration to actually get things done on this campus. And going around and auditing everybody isn't going to develop any sort of relationship with these people.
While you do have to have a strong connection with administration, it's Student Government Association. And your first concern needs to be the students. And if the students want to know what's going on with the ground, that's the first thing that needs to happen. These holes need to be open and apparent to students, because if we're the only ones asking questions and the student body isn't, how effective is that? And how effective is it if we're knowing that these holes are there and we're not informing the student body?
Maybe I wasn't clear. Like, there wasn't any specific positive outcome that came from the particular audit of the Office of Student Activities at the end of the day. And that's what's being referred to here. There wasn't a positive outcome that she even referred to in regards to auditing the Office of Student Activities. Thank you.
This will be our last question for the President candidate.
I mean,
Do
he's
you
being
believe
real.
that A&S fee should be increased? And if so, then to what fee per credit hour, Mr. Bailey?
Wow, I just get all the questions first today, don't I? Okay, so do I believe that A&S ANS fees should be increased? That's the first part of the question. I think that being a member of the Senate, number one, they shouldn't be increased because we don't need to pay any more money. Let's lay that down. But being a member of the Senate and knowing how things work, we're almost at a point where they're going to have to be increased. If we don't transition to a recreation fee, because the rec center is a huge commitment, and as it grows, our budget shrank this year because our enrollment shrank. So when enrollment shrinks, we have less people to pay their money. So at the end of the day, it's looking like this fee is actually going to have to increase, and it might be inevitable unless we actually hold the Board of Trustees accountable and tell them and express our concerns that we actually do need a recreation fee to cover this recreation center that continues to grow and that is extremely popular for students, and it promotes health and wellness around this university.
Yes.
I do feel that there's certain ways that we can move around as far as increasing the ANS fees, but I do have to agree, the fact of our retention right now and our recruitment has been hit because of some of these incidents, and what we're gonna have to do is push on all three for us to be able to keep ANS fees on the level that it is now. When we talk about fee increases, students don't want to hear about that because they're currently seeing a tuition increase every year. So I think what it's going to have to take is us being progressive and figuring out where we can pinch what in the budget and adjust it to the point to where all of the needs are met and that we're not just throwing away any money.
That was my last question. Are there any closing remarks you would like to make, Ms. Churchill?
I would just like to say thank you for everyone who did decide to come out and to hear what both of us have to say as far as the issues for SGA Vice President.
I'll keep it short as well. We just appreciate each and every one of you, taking the time to come out here today for us to discuss the issues that are affecting our student body. Remember that without A&E, there is no A&E, and we are a we first administration.